Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Dhammāṃ saranang gacchāmi, Saṅghāṃ saranang gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Dhammaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Sangham Saranang Gacchami, Tatiyampi Buddham Saranang Gacchami, Tatiyampi Dhammam Saranang Gacchami, Tatiyampi Sangham Saranang Gacchami, Tisaranaгаmanang Paripunang Panatipata Viramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami Adinadana Viramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami Kame Sumichachara Viramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami Musavada Viramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami Suramiraya Majjapamadatthana Viramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami Idang me silang Magga phala jnanassa Paccayo Hotu Appamadena Sampadita. We were talking about the Vicikicca, skeptical doubt, the fifth hindrance, the fifth and the last hindrance to abandon in order to dwell in Ariyavasa. In order to dwell in Ariyavasa, and last time we talked that the accurate aiming is the best way to dispel, to subside, to abandon the skeptical doubt, Vicikicca. And I said we will talk some more ways to fight with Vicikicca, and today we are going to talk about that. So another way to destroy the Vicikicca is developing the second jhanic factor, that is Vichara. Vichara and the Vicikicca are directly opposite to each other. I repeat, Vicikicca and the Vichara, the second jhanic factor, are directly opposite to each other, because the second jhanic factor, Vichara, the continuous application or the consistent application, the Vichara that rubs against the object. When the observing mind rubs against the object, then at that time the observing mind realize the object. What object is that? Or what kind of nature is there? So in this way, when the observing mind contacts with the object, then mind realizes, or mind figures out or discovers about the object. So when the observing mind discovers about the object, the true nature of the object, then there is no chance to arise the doubt. Vitaka is initial application, and the vichara is the continuous application or the consistent application. As we aim to the object consistently, then the observing mind get in touch with the object, or we can say the observing mind contacts with the object. The observing mind approach to the meditative object. As the observing mind reach or the approach to the meditative object, then it realize what kind of object is that. Like, let's take an example. When our body make a contact with something, then we can know that what kind of object is that, whether it is hard object, whether it is rough or smooth, or the warm or the cool object. Similarly, when observing mind get in touch with the object, then that meditative mind or the observing mind realize what kind of object is that, what kind of natures it contains. So we have already mentioned, when we talk about the nature, it could be the individual nature, it could be conditioned nature, it could be common nature. And definitely, when the observing mind well connected to the meditative object, it comes to know all these three characteristics. So in this way, by the help of the vichara, the observing mind knows or the discovers or the figure out nature of the object. So when observing mind realize about the natures of the object, then there is no probability to arise the doubt. There is no probability to arise the uncertainty of the object, because observing mind is well knowing at that time. So in this way, the vichara and the vichikiccha are directly opposite to each other. Vichikiccha is the doubting mind, uncertain mind, which is confused, which does not know exactly, but the vichara, because it is contacting, which is reaching, approaching to the object, getting in touch with the object. That's why vichara knows about the object. So that's why they are directly opposite to each other. Hence, in order to fight with the skeptical doubt, vichikiccha, in order to dispel or to subside the skeptical doubt, what we need to develop is vichara, the second jhanic factor. So in this way, we can fight with the vichikiccha. So now we have already, but in order to develop with vichara, we need vitarka. Without vitarka, the initial application, the vichara cannot be developed. So that is why at the beginning we mentioned that initial application, accurate aiming is the main thing in order to fight with the Vichikicha in order to dispel the Vichikicha. But the Vitaka initial application is the directly opposite to the Thinamita, which we have already mentioned in the previous talks. To fight with the Thinamita, we have to develop Vitaka. So as we develop Vitaka, the initial application, then we dispel the Thinamita. We dispel the Thinamita by development of the Vitaka. And as we develop Vitaka, automatically the Vichara will be developed. If we keep applying the accurate aiming again and again, then automatically Vichara will be developed. And Vichara is the directly opposite to the Vichikicha. And that is how we will be dispelling, abandoning the another hindrance, Vichikicha. And by the development of Vitaka and Vichara, and by help of Virya, we cannot leave Virya. Virya is always needed. So mindfulness will be developed. And when mindfulness develops, at that time mind is being purified. Each and every moment when mindfulness is being developed, at that time mind is being purified. We have already talked very much when we discuss about the wound protection. Wound protection, the first area was the wound protection. We have already talked much about this. So when mindfulness is there, mind is well protected, well guarded. Impurities are not there. Impurities are not present. Only the pure, clean culture, the mentalities, mind and mentalities are present at that time. In the presence of mindfulness, mind becomes clean, pure. Meanwhile, mind becomes calm also. And repeatedly, when we develop that moment, the moment of the clean, pure, calm mind, slowly we will enjoy, we will cherish. Or we can say slowly rapture will develop. Rapture will develop at that time. So that is called PT. So by the presence of the mindfulness, the repeated presence of, not for a short time, but for the repeated presence of the mindfulness, which is cleaning the mind, which is purifying the mind, which is calming down the mind, which is culturing or taming the mind. By the presence of that mindfulness, as the mind becomes pure, clean, and calm, tame, cultured, and also gentle, soft, so the rapture develops, and that is piti. And when piti develops, we have already mentioned piti is directly opposite to the piti is directly opposite to the vyapada, the ill will or the aversion. So by the development of the piti, we will abandon the hindrance, the vyapada, ill. And also the slowly sukha, the happiness, or we can say mental comfort. Mental comfort also will develop. And we do know that sukha is directly opposite to the udacha and the kukucha, restlessness and remorse. So in this way, by development of the sukha, mental comfort or the mental happiness, we dispel the fourth hindrance, udacha and the kukucha. By the presence of sukha, when we dispel or abandon the restlessness and the remorse. So no remorse means mind is not wandering, not going here and there, not traveling here and there, not taking off, not departing from the object. So it is landing, well landing on the object. And of course, mind is penetrating and mind is collective. All the mentalities are collected into on one object, and that is the samadhi concentration. And when samadhi develops, then the first hindrance, kama chanda, we dispel. So we have already mentioned samadhi concentration is the directly opposite to the kama chanda, sensual desire. So by development of the concentration, we abandon the kama chanda, the first hindrance. So in this way, we fight against the five hindrances by development of the five jhanic factors. We abandon the five hindrances. So as we abandon the five hindrances, mind become very clear. Mind become very clear. So the example is given. Example is given in the text, like hindrances are like a mist or the fog or the dust in the mirror or in the glass. Like let's say while we are driving car, if there are the mist, fog or the dust on glasses, then we cannot have the good clear vision. We cannot see. The more dust, the more unclear vision. We cannot see anything clear. So similarly, if hindrances are there, which is similarly to the mist or fog or the dust, which makes unclear the vision of the object. So, but if the mist, fog, or the dust are not there on glass or in mirror, then we can see very clearly. Vision is very clear. So in this way, the hindrances are similar to the mist or fog or dust. So as we dispel or abandon the five hindrances, the vision become very clear, or means the object that we are observing become very clear. We can see very clearly, and we can discern the nature because the vision is so clear. That is why it is very important to subside or to abandon the hindrances in order to see clearly the object, in order to discover the natures, in order to figure out the natures of the objects. The another example given to these 5 hindrances individually are the Kama Chanda is compared to the color. It is compared with the color because when we are about to look into the water, let's say we are looking into the water in lake or in ocean or in water in a ball. So when we are looking into the water, if there is colors, different kind of colors, then we cannot have the clear vision. We cannot see inside the water. We cannot see deep into the water because it is stained by the colors. The color is good comparison, is a good example for the Kama Chanda because when we dye the color in a white clothes, so it catch well. It catch well on the white clothes. It stains well on the white clothes. So like catching to the white clothes. So Kama Chanda also has the nature of catching or the grabbing or sticking to the object. We have already mentioned when we talk about the Kama Chanda. So color also sticks. Color also sticks to the clothes, to the objects. It stains, it grabs the objects. So Kama Chanda also has the same nature. So that is why Buddha compared the Kama Chanda with color. So that's why if color is there in the water, the color is not clean, not pure, so we cannot see into it. Let's say there is no colors and there is no colors in water. The water is not mixed with the colors, but the water is boiling. So the steams are coming. Let's say the steams are coming from the water, vapors are coming from the water. So if steams are there, then again we cannot see into the water. And the steams are compared with the Vyapada. And it is also a very good example or the comparison because when Vyapada, ill will, aversion, or the anger is there, our mind is heated. Our mind is heated at that time. So we do know that when anger is there, our mind is heated. So why the steam from the water coming? Because water is also hot. It is boil. So it is hot. That's why the steam is coming. So when steam is there, then again we cannot see clearly into the water. Again, let's say there is no steam in water, but it is covered with the moss. So if it is covered with the moss, again we cannot see anything into the water, and the moss is compared with the Tina Mitta. While Tina, it is also a good comparison because when Thinamida is there, like our mind is covered with something, our mind is concealed by something. Similarly here, moss covers, concealed, so that we cannot see anything inside. So in this way, when Tinamida is there, we cannot see the object clearly. It is like our mind is concealed or covered by something. So that is why Tinamida is compared with the moss. Again, let's say there is no moss, but wind is blowing, so that's why water is fluttering, water is wavering, waves are there, the water is moving from one place to another place, like is water is fluttering, wavering. So at that time also, we cannot see clearly into the water because so many waves are there. Water is wavering, it is whipped by the wind. So at that time also we cannot see clearly into the water, and that shaking or the wavering or the fluttering water is compared with the Udacha and the Kukucha, and it is also a very good comparison because we have already discussed when Udacha and Kukucha are there, then man is not calm, it is restless, it is not blending, it is shaking, wavering, fluttering. So it is a very good comparison. Again, let's say there is no wind, water is not shaking, not fluttering, but darkness is there. Or let's say many dusts are there, many rubbices are there in the water. So at that time, again, we cannot see. And it is also a good comparison, like when we are walking in darkness, we have so many doubts whether we are going to bang our forehead or body in something. There is always doubt whether we are going to stumble with something, whether we are going to knock down, going to bang with something. The doubt is always there. Uncertainty is always there when we walk in the darkness. So it is very similar with the Vichikicha. Vichikicha also uncertainty, many doubts. So it is also a very good comparison. So again, when darkness is there, again we cannot see anything into the water. So the first is color, second is steam, third is moss, fourth is the wind or the waves. We can say waves caused by the wind. And fifth is the darkness. If any of these five is present, then at that time we cannot see clearly into the water. It's a very unclear water, so cannot see the things that is really existing inside the water. So similarly, if any of the five hindrances is present, similarly our vision is unclear, we cannot see the object clearly. If any of these five are present, then the vision is not clear, we cannot see clearly the object. Then just imagine if all these five hindrances are present, then what will be the situation? So we are talking about the Ariyavasa. So what we can say is if any of five hindrances is present, then we are not dwelling in Ariyavasa. If all these five hindrances are present, then needless to say, we are definitely not dwelling in Ariyavasa. And when we dispel these 5 hindrances, when we abandon these 5 hindrances, then at that time, the rapture, the special rapture develops. Rapture and the comfort of the mind, the happiness of the mind develops. So it is mentioned in the text. It is called Vivekaja Piti Sukha. Vivekaja Piti Sukha means, Viveka means secluded. Ja means generated. Piti Sukha means, Piti is rapture, Sukha is happiness or mental comfort. So Viveka, secluded means secluded from the hindrances, devoid from the hindrances, free from hindrances. So when the mind becomes free, secluded from the hindrances, that state of mind generates the piti and the sukha, the rapture and the happiness. It's automatic. We don't need to do anything. We have to just keep our mind secluded from the hindrances. If hindrances are not present, then automatically we will enjoy, or we will have these two things, two factors, piti and the sukha. And this piti sukha, the rapture and the mental comfort of happiness that we enjoy by the secluded mind, it is far more better than the rapture and the happiness that we can have in our worldly life. Many times, far more better than those worldly rapture, worldly happiness. So in this way, when the mind becomes secluded, at that time we will enjoy the piti and the sukha. And at the same time, we are dwelling in Ariyavasa. That is why the another feature for the Ariyavasa, or in order to dwell in Ariyavasa, we have to abandon the 5 hindrances. So that is why if we want to also dwell in Ariyavasa, what we need to do is we must, let's say we must abandon the 5 hindrances. We should not let them to arise in our mentality, in our mind. We have to keep our mind free from these 5 hindrances. So even not even a single hindrance we should let to arise, because if even a single hindrance, if we let to arise in our mind, then we are not dwelling in Ariyavasa. So needless to say, if all of 5 are present. So that's why may you be able to subside, abandon, or dispel, destroy these 5 hindrances, and by dispelling, destroying, abandoning these 5 hindrances, may you be able to dwell in Ariyavasa. Okay, sharing maybe.